So police reform ideas are gaining momentum around the country. We just saw in Minneapolis where the city council vowed to disband the police department. Here in Oklahoma, activists are also asking for some level of change. And joining me now is John George. He is the president of the Oklahoma City Fraternal Order of Police. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Oh, glad to be here.
So I want to start by getting kind of the perspective of police officers. What are you hearing from officers, and what are they saying to you during this tumultuous time?
Well, I actually went downtown this weekend and spent some time down there with a bunch of the officers. They're in the morale, good spirits. They understand what's going on around the country, and they're just doing their job during this just like they do every other day.
If there's any message that that you would want to get across to the protesters, the people that are out there that are upset and frustrated, what would that be?
Well, we understand your frustration, but also you need to understand that the police department and the police officers are here for you. We're here to make this community safe. We're here to help the citizens any way we can.
I got to ask you, Black Lives Matter. They've demanded that Chief Gorley step down. They said there are cases here at home. It's not just the cases outside of the state of Oklahoma that happen around the country. They say there are cases right here in our backyard, including Derek Ollie. He died in May 2019 after an arrest. They say Black Lives Matter says his family has not been given all the answers to his death. They've brought up a number of other issues that they see here. What is your reaction to the demand that the chief step down?
I think we already have expressed that, and we don't think the chief's done anything wrong. We think he's handled the protest that turned riots. He gave the officers the tools they needed and the permission they needed to take care of the situation.
Do you agree that there could be maybe more transparency in some of these cases that they brought up, some of these cases in terms of people dying in police custody? Is there more transparency that could be had so there's no question marks for these families?
Yeah, and I don't know the particular cases, obviously. We don't deal with that. I would assume that the department has given them and the people it's asked what they can under the open records. There's no need to hide anything in any of these cases. So I really can't answer to that, but transparency is a good thing.
Okay. Mayor Holt has said that the city needs to look into its de-escalation policy. What is your reaction to that?
We encourage it. We always look for improvements. I feel like we instituted our current de-escalation policy, I believe in 2018. It's pretty comprehensive. It seems to have been working well the last 2 to 3 years. But if there's ways to improve, we're always looking for ways to improve.
Okay, so you think that there could be improvements here to the de-escalation policy for sure?
It's possible. I don't know. I don't know what people think needs to be changed. Again, I think it's worked very well so far, but I have not heard any ideas on what anybody thinks should be different.
Is there anything that we can do differently when it comes to policing here in America? We're hearing the pleas, we're hearing people around the country asking for change here. What can we do differently when it comes to policing?
Well, when we talk about de-escalation, one thing I'd like to reiterate is the public also plays a role in de-escalation. They need to learn to de-escalate the situations as well. We go through the training, but the public needs to understand they need to comply with police orders and police commands. And if the police are wrong, you can complain later and it will be investigated. But 99% of these violent situations are because people didn't obey the orders and commands they were given. And if the public will de-escalate as well, almost all these situations will be avoided.
Is there anything else, though, that we can do to improve policing? Is there anything else specifically that we can point to?
Well, I'm sure there is, because anything can be improved. Anything can be improved. We probably have the best criminal justice system in this entire world, but it can be improved as well. There's no perfect systems anywhere. Again, I would like to see what people want improved, and let's have honest discussions and sit down in front of each other and let's talk about that, and let's talk about why it may or may not work. I hear some demands about the chief being fired and different things like that, but let's sit down and have realistic conversations about what you think's wrong with the system, and let's see if we can improve those individual parts.
The idea of defunding police departments, that's beginning to gain momentum right now. People saying, let's divert funds away from the police departments and direct them towards community initiatives, mental health, other aspects. Is that something that could work here?
Well, I think defunding the police department is asinine and absurd. However, I do believe here in Oklahoma, we need to do focus more resources on our mental health. Many of these volatile situations we get into with citizens are because they're in mental health crisis. We've tried to turn police into social workers, and we do have some training, but we're not here to solve the mental health crisis that's going on in our state. And we do need to put a priority on that. And it would avoid a lot of these situations if we had the treatment, we had places for people that need to go in crisis.
but you don't think taking away money from departments and sending it to some of those areas in the community, you don't think that's a good idea?
Well, I would say as far as Oklahoma City Police Department goes, we're already understaffed. So taking more money away from us would make it even worse. We have a 600 something square miles to patrol. We're 100, 150 officers short of what we need to be. We're doing the best we can. I understand, but defunding a police department is not the answer. Finding other resources, finding other ways to do some things, absolutely, we need to look at that.
Just looking nationally, congressional Democrats are set to unveil the Justice and Policing Act of 2020. Have you looked into that, and what are your thoughts on it?
I haven't. I've seen a little bit of the news about it, about banning chokeholds. I came here in 1991. Oklahoma City Police Department has used chokeholds that entire time. So I don't, some of those things they're demanding or people are wanting, we already do here in Oklahoma City.
Is there any common ground that you can find with the people out there that are protesting, that are frustrated? The idea that Black Lives Matter, is that an idea that you can get behind here?
Yeah. Every life matters, and nobody should ever die unjustly. Nobody should ever die when we had an alternative that we could have done something different. And I'm definitely behind that. And I say, let's sit down at the table and let's look at the individual problems. I don't think there's this total systematic problems, but we may have individual problems, and we need to address those and see where did we mess up in this instance and what can we do different here.
Right. And I know you said, every life matters. The idea of the people that are behind Black Lives Matter is that right now there are issues in this country when it comes to Black people, when it comes to policing, when it comes to criminal justice. That idea, once again, Black Lives Matter, is that something that you can say that Black lives matter here in America? Black
lives matter. All lives matter. It doesn't matter who you are in this country. We should be equal, and they all should matter.
Okay. Thank you very much. John George here with the Fraternal Order of Police. We do appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.